This video is one in a series of videos that is intended to aid trainers and handlers in the AKC sport of obedience. It is intended as an enhancement to training and an aid to understanding the sport's requirement. It is hoped the viewer will better understand the regulations, procedures, and scoring associated with the sport. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that you'll be notified of new videos in the series. In order to master this exercise, it's important to understand the regulations. Reading the regulations may not answer all of your questions, so we recommend that you view this video and attend any judges panel discussion or regulation seminars that may be available to the handler or trainer. AKC Judges Education webinars and videos are excellent sources as well. In this video, we will discuss the utility moving stand and examination exercise. In Utility A, this exercise follows the directed retrieve exercise. The order of exercises is always the same in Utility A, and it is order 1 of the 6 orders in Utility B. All utility exercises are performed off-leash. The principal features of this exercise are that the dog heel, stand, and stay as the handler moves away, accept the examination without shyness or resentment, and return to the handler on command. In AKC Regulations, Chapter 5, Section 3, we are told that there are 30 points available for this exercise. The team must retain more than 50% of the points available in this exercise, or 15.5 points in order to qualify. The judge's orders for this exercise are you ready? This is an inquiry. Forward. Stand your dog. Call your dog to heel. And exercise finished. This is a statement. We will watch the entire exercise as it's to be performed, and then we will break it down into procedure, scoring, and penalties.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Forward.
Winston heel.
Stand your dog.
Stand back.
Call your dog to heel.
Winston heel.
Exercise finished.
The judge will select a place in the ring to begin the exercise. There may or may not be a mark indicating the starting point. The exercise may be conducted anywhere in the ring. The judge may conduct this exercise in a variety of manners, but the resulting examination will be the same. The judge might stand about halfway between where the handler starts the exercise and where he or she ends the exercise. Another option is the judge might follow the team as it moves to the location of the examination, much as the judge would follow a heeling exercise. The exercise begins with the handler standing with the dog sitting in heel position. The judge will ask, "Are you ready?" before giving the first order. On the judge's order, the handler may command or signal the dog to heel. After the handler has proceeded about 10 feet, the judge will order, "Stand your dog." The handler will give a command and or signal for the dog to stand and stay. The handler must continue to walk while the dog stops and stays in place and position. The handler will continue forward about 10 to 12 feet and turn and face the dog.
Stand back.
The handler can turn in either direction, to the right or to the left, to face their dog. The dog must remain in the standing position without leaving its place. Once the handler is stationary, the judge will approach the dog from the front to examine it. The judge will use both hands to feel the dog. This is to be done gently in a single motion, beginning at the sides of the dog's neck, then moving his or her hands along the body and ending at the dog's croup. The exam may not include the dog's head, teeth, legs, testicles, or tail. The judge will then retreat from the dog and order the handler to call the dog to the heel position. On the judge's order,
Winston,
the
get
handler
close.
will command and/or signal the dog to return to the heel position. As in all recall
Call your dog to heel.
situations, the dog is to return to the handler briskly. This recall is slightly different in that the dog is to go to heel position rather than going to the front position.
Exercise
The handler
finished.
is to remain in position until the judge states exercise finished. Handlers must not anticipate the release since the judge may still be evaluating the dog's position for scoring. After the command to stand stay, it is important that the dog halt immediately when commanded to do so. Continuing to walk forward indicates a lack of precision, which is likely to be scored. It is likewise important for the handler to recognize that the first part of this exercise is a healing exercise and all requirements of good healing practice and procedure must be followed. In giving the stand-stay command, the handler may not pause. The image of perfection for many judges is that the handler stand-stay the dog while remaining at the same speed they were traveling before the judge's order to stand your dog. Once the command is given to the dog, it should stop immediately and not follow the handler. A step to establish a balanced stand should not be scored, but walking forward likely will be. The definition of walking forward is all 4 feet of the dog move forward. Now we will break down the exercise into the exact procedure according to the regulations, as well as discuss errors that the handler or the dog might make. Finally, we will cover the penalties associated with those errors.
Moving
The
stand. Are you
exercise
ready?
begins at a place identified
Forward.
by the judge. Handlers should watch the previous few teams in order to determine this location. This way, the handler can efficiently move to the starting position as soon as the directed retrieve is completed. This awareness helps the handler concentrate on their dog without having to wait on the judge to direct them. The moving stand and examination is designed to evaluate the dog's willingness to be examined by the judge. The dog must therefore accept the examination or be excused. Basically, this exercise is 3 exercises in one: healing, standing for examination, and the recall, all referring back to those exercises in prior chapters. The handler should prepare the dog for the exercise in the same manner they prepare for the heel-free exercise. The judge will ask, "Are you ready?" If ready, the handler should respond to the judge in the affirmative. If not, the handler should say no. The handler should then correct whatever problem existed and either say ready or wait for the judge to ask again. Once the handler indicates that they're ready, the judge will order forward.
Forward.
The handler may give a command or signal to heel. The team will proceed forward until the judge orders stand your dog.
Stand your dog.
On the
Stand
order
back.
stand your dog, the handler must give a signal and or command for the dog to stand stay. Many handlers use both a command and a signal. The dog must stop immediately and wait for the command and or
Stand your
signal
dog.
to
Stand
go
back.
to heel position while accepting the examination. The handler must continue forward without pausing or stopping to a position 10 to 12 feet in front of the dog. The handler is to stand naturally and await the order to call the dog to heel.
Call your dog to heel.
Winston,
Once
get
the
close.
examination is complete, the judge will retreat and order the handler to call the dog to heel. The dog is to go directly to the handler and either circle them and sit in heel or approach the handler on the left side and assume the heel position. The
Exercise
judge will say,
finished.
exercise finished. We will now look at the penalties related to any errors by the handler or the dog. Penalties can be minor, minor or substantial, substantial or NQ, or NQ. Minor penalties are levied at 1/2 to 2.5 points. Minor or substantial are levied at 1/2 to the point of NQ, though 3 to 5 points would be most common. Substantial are levied from 3 points to the point of NQ, though 3 to 5 points would also be most common. Some errors are required by the regulations to be non-qualifying errors. A dog trial is just that. It is a test to determine how a team's training and skill line up to the requirements of the regulations. Penalties are the means used by the sport to measure that skill and training. Remember that regardless of your score, the sport is supposed to be fun. We will now examine scoring for the moving stand and examination exercise. In order to illustrate the penalties presented here, many of the situations shown are staged. These images are not reflective of any of the team's normal performances. Our volunteers were kind enough to allow us to record training or staged errors in order to enhance the viewer's understanding. The following are errors that can result in a non-qualifying score. We will go into detail on each of the following errors. The dog displays fear or resentment. The meaning of resentment is resistance or unwillingness. The handler must prepare their dog for being examined by a stranger. The dog should be adequately socialized that it can accept an examination from anyone. The dog moves from the place where it was left. Chapter 3, Section 8 tells us a dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it moves away from the place where it was left either before or during the examination. This requirement harks back to the novice section and novice recall.
This is your moving stand and examination. Are you ready? Ready. Forward. Stand your dog. Stand back.
The dog sits or lies down before it is called. In Chapter 3, Section 8, a dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it sits or lies down either before or during the examination. Also in Chapter 5, Section 12, we are told that the dog must stand and stay in position. A handler that gives a second command to stay or come. A dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it is given an additional command and or signal to stay, or if it fails to come on the first command or signal.
Yes. Forward. Heel. Stand your dog. Stay. This is your moving stand and examination. Are you ready? Yes. Forward. Heel. Stand your dog. Stay.
The dog growls or snaps, repeatedly whines or barks. In Chapter 3, Section 8, we are told a dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it snaps. Chapter 5, Section 13 tells us that a dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it repeatedly whines or barks. The dog fails to heel, stand, stay, or accept the judge's examination. A dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it fails to heel, stand, stay, or accept the judge's examination. The dog must remain in position and place until it is called.
This is your moving stand and examination. Are you ready? Ready. Forward. Stand your dog. Stand back.
The dog fails to return to the handler. Chapter 5, Section 13 tells us that a dog must receive a non-qualifying score if it fails to return to the handler. The dog must come close enough for the handler to touch its head without excessive reaching, bending, or moving of the feet. The last part of this comes directly from Chapter 3 and the recall exercise.
Call to heel.
Around.
Next, we will examine the errors that typically result in a substantial penalty. Keep in mind that the degree of deviation from the requirements of the regulations will determine the degree of the penalty applied. Again, we will go into detail on each of these errors and the associated penalty. A handler that gives an extra command or signal to sit or finish will receive a substantial penalty. After returning to heel position, the dog that fails to sit, or the handler that gives an extra command or signal to sit, will be scored a substantial penalty. A dog that fails to come at a brisk trot or gallop. The dog returning to heel position must move at a brisk trot or gallop directly to the handler. This is exactly the same as the novice recall requirement. A dog that fails to sit at heel position. The dog is to sit once it arrives at the handler's side without additional signal or command. Since there is no front in this exercise, this is the only sit to judge.
Send your dog to find it. Pop around.
A dog that repeatedly moves its feet while in the stand. The dog is to stand with all 4 feet planted. Once standing, the dog is not to move its feet either before or during the examination or until it is called.
Call to heel.
We will now look at the errors that typically result in a minor or substantial penalty. The team will be penalized for slow or poor sits. The sits should be prompt or smart. The team will be penalized if the dog touches the handler on coming in or while finishing. The dog is not to touch the handler while returning to heel position.
Call to heel. Heel up.
A handler that pauses while giving the stand command or signal. The handler should maintain the same speed and pace from the time that they go forward at the beginning of the exercise until they are about 10 to 12 feet from where they left the dog. The handler should not pause while giving the signal to stand stay.
Forward. Stand your dog. Stand.
The handler looks backward to see if the dog is standing. The handler may not use any body language that would act as an aid to the dog. Looking backward during an exercise where the dog is to stay in place can be considered an additional signal and can warrant a penalty. It is important to remember that penalties assigned by the judge may exceed those described in the regulations should the error be greater than would be normally seen. Further, penalties for lack of control or lack of teamwork are assigned based on common judging practice. Thank you for watching, and we hope that in some way this has helped you in understanding the sport of obedience. Before you leave, please click the like button and then subscribe. We'd like to see you again. For other videos, you can go to the playlist by using the following QR code. Please like, subscribe, and share this video so that others can learn as well.